guys, so I'm here in Lithuania at FastMX, and this is really exciting because about a year ago I met Tdas and I realized that he comes from a very similar background as me. He's very experienced when it comes to rebuilding and servicing suspensions. So here we are about a year later. He is now the Feal Suspension European Service Center and has been rebuilding and servicing and upgrading to two-way shocks for Feal Suspension customers. So paying a visit, seeing how things are going.
Interesting first year. We had customers from all over Europe. We had done some two-way conversion kits and for now customers are quite happy with these conversion kits and we hope to see them more.
You know, it's just natural for drivers, especially that compete in motorsports. Things happen, they crash their car, you know, they bend shocks. This is normal, so it's so nice to have a service center, and I'm sure you'll be seeing more and more of those come through. And it's nice to know that our customers in Europe don't have to worry about sending things back to USA, to our headquarters. They could next door essentially get their suspension fixed quickly by FastMX. Tdas, tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, when I sat down with you about a year ago and had lunch, you know, you told me about how you got started, and that really piqued my interest to work with you. But yeah, give us a little quick rundown of your history with suspension.
So me and my brother, we are quite the same age, and we needed something to do in our early years, and father bought us a dirt bike.
Okay.
So the rear shock blew. We didn't have anybody in Lithuania who could repair them. I started Googling, made my hard lessons, you know, while rebuilding the shock.
Okay, so you took it apart and
didn't assemble it first try. And after some time, I saw an opportunity that there is nobody in Lithuania that can help out other motocross riders. And while being 16, started helping other riders with their suspension and rebuilding it. And everything evolved because we have winter with snow in our country. We needed something to fill in winter, and that's how we moved into coilovers and car suspension.
Awesome. So what I really liked is your story is actually quite similar to my story. I also founded my company from rebuilding and servicing motocross suspension. And it was also with my brother, just like you started your business with your brother. And I truly think that to be good at tuning motocross suspension and to be successful at it, you have to be a really good suspension tuner, because the components are really precise. You could damage forks and shocks quite easily. Everything's aluminum anodized. And when you take it a step further, what I really liked about motocross suspension is not just changing seals and rebuilding shocks, it's going to the racetrack and changing the shim stacks, springs, and working with pro riders. And that really taught me how to tune shocks, because it's so precise, and the customers in motocross are so picky. You know, one rider might like it a certain way and you think you have it figured out, and you take another rider and they don't like it. So you learn how to really adjust the shock to get its maximum potential. So when I learned that was your background to work with motocross suspension, I automatically said, okay, this is great, because the experience for motocross only helps with rebuilding coilovers for automotive applications. Great to know that the European Service Center has experience not only in rebuilding coilovers and automotive shocks, but they could take it a step further. And if there's any sort of issue that you have, you could dig in your past and probably pull some experiences that you have from rebuilding motorcycle suspension as well. It's very popular for customers to have a one-way kit here in Europe. Our one-way kit's like the most popular selling kit. Yeah, there's some two-ways out there as well, but when you get a one-way kit and a customer in Europe says, hey, I want to upgrade to two-way, kind of take us through the quick steps that you have to take in order to upgrade this shock.
Yeah, so firstly, customer contact us. They tell that they want to do an upgrade. We tell them how they should proceed with the order. They send their shocks to us. We inspect them. If everything is straight, not bent, we take them apart. We change all the wear parts, including O-rings, seals, bushings. Then after measuring and deciding which canister to use, we do our stuff. We machine parts if they need to be machined. We fit those canisters. And after assembly, we put the shocks in our shock dyno and we check if everything is up to spec.
There's quite a bit of work that goes into converting a one-way shock to two-way shock, but the customer doesn't really have to worry too much about it. It's Tdas's, I guess, problem in a way, or a lot of procedures that he has to go through. But bottom line is, he gets our two-way parts from US, and it has some instructions on which parts to use, what length reservoir hose to use, so you as the customer get a shock back that not only has rebound adjustability, now it has compression adjustability built into the shock reservoir itself. And here, right inside your workshop, what I was really thrilled about is that you have milling machines, lathe machines, so we don't have to send you absolutely everything. The customer doesn't have to buy a whole new shock body or a whole new lower mount. Tdas here locally at his shop could go ahead and mill out the opening for the reservoir hose to attach. So it saves the customer quite a bit of money because they can keep their original shock just upgraded instead of buying all new parts in order to have the upgrade. So I hope to see a lot more one-way customers coming to you for the two-way upgrade. It sounds like you already been upgrading some of those shocks.
And we received quite an interest in these, so
awesome.
I hope that this will evolve.
Yeah, it's a great upgrade.
If you send in your shocks for us and you want to upgrade to two-way shock, you can either choose if you want to upgrade all 4 shock absorbers, or you only want to upgrade fronts or rears. Maybe, Odi, you can tell us about this?
Yeah, that is an option. It's not necessarily necessary to upgrade the fronts and the rears. For instance, for drifting, there's so much more adjustment that is needed for the rear shocks to change the vehicle's behavior. So that's when we have the 441.5, not just 441.2, or not 442 kit, but we have a 441.5 kit, because the fronts you can keep as one-way kits if you want to save some money, and Tdas could upgrade your rear shocks to be two-way adjustable. This is popular for drifting, and it's also quite popular for drag racing, where you need more adjustability and control over the rear dynamics of the car.
About the need to rebuild coilovers.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think you don't even see any damage, but maybe you could take it a little bit further. Why would there be a need to rebuild your coilovers?
Yeah, so over time oil degrades and it loses its performance abilities, and over time separating piston has an O-ring, so it wears out and you can have nitrogen gas mixing with oil, and shock doesn't perform the same way it should perform, like it's brand new.
Sometimes you see it visually, maybe a slight oil leak, which is fairly uncommon with Feal coilovers, but the degradation over time, even the nitrogen pressure dropping, the oil losing its characteristics, that's something that you also get used to as a driver sometimes. And then you rebuild it, you get it back and it's fresh, and you go, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah, because if it's your daily car, you're driving it every day and you don't feel such a dramatic change because you use it daily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or you compensate by adjusting the shock. You keep increasing the compression and rebound damping, and then ultimately it's not enough until you get a rebuild again. So yeah, oil seals, O-rings, there's even a piston band seal.
Yeah.
And something else that you might have to do is replace the shock shaft itself or a shock body. If you have contact on the racetrack or on the road, the shock might still work. It's not going to leak. It might still function, but not as good. If something's slightly bent, there's too much friction, more friction than we want there to be in the shock, and you're leaving a lot of performance on the table. So glad Tdas could help all the European customers get all these issues resolved. Simple service and everything's pretty much back to new. There's quite a bit of adjustability built into a coilover. I mean, that's why people buy coilovers, one of the reasons. Kind of talk us through our one-way most popular kit that you rebuild here. You have one adjustment knob. What does it do?
It adjusts compression and rebound simultaneously. With this one adjuster, you can adjust the force in both ways, adjusting only one. But if you would like to dial in more accurately, you can upgrade your coilovers to two-way, and then we put a valve inside the shock, connect the canister, which has separate compression adjuster, and you have separate rebound adjuster on the shock shaft.
Yeah, and this changes the dynamic of the shock quite a bit, because now the adjustment that you had on the shock shaft is no longer compression and rebound simultaneously. Now it is strictly a rebound adjuster, and it's a lot easier as a driver or an engineer on a race team to be able to tune the car properly, because now you can focus only on rebound, and then when you think you have the rebound figured out, you can jump and focus solely on compression. So separating those two out is a huge help if you know how to tune a car. If you're on a budget and you're not maybe as well versed about adjusting suspension, you could stick to our one-way shocks, and that one knob will do compression and rebound simultaneously.
After testing, we check if adjusters are working properly, and we can see this in our shock dyno data, and we can compare the test results before rebuild, after rebuild, can check that everything is working up to spec.